It's recording, right? Okay, so welcome to our third and final discussion group. The members are Marta, Chuy, and myself, Brenda. The topics we are going to discuss today are: do we practice what we teach, and acknowledgement as a key to teacher learning. So the first question is, in what phase of acknowledgement are you? Um, I believe I'm between the phase number 2 and phase number 3, between a lower level competence and a higher level competence. I don't really think it's completely a phase. I believe it's more like a cycle. Like you experience something, and then you learn from it, and I think this repeats on and on with different situations that come up as a teacher. So that's why I believe I'm between phase 2 and 3, and I believe it's constantly cycling. Okay, Martha. Oh, your microphone is off, Martha.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I think can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I think that I'm in point 2, bueno, phase 2 and 3, but mostly in phase 2, because I think that sometimes I can notice or be aware about what I am doing, but I think that I know I'm not putting in practice yet. That okay, I am trying to analyze him, but I know what I have to change, but I haven't done many things to change it. So I think that it's no need to.
All right. Thank you. Chewy?
So I feel that I'm more in the second phase, strictly because I feel like. Sorry, what?
Continue.
I feel like I'm in the second phase, strictly because I know that some of the things I'm doing are not what I want to be doing, but I haven't really thought about changing them, like manipulating them to make them fit what I want to be doing, especially with the students, because sometimes I feel like certain things I'm doing are like very boring for them, and I know that I should be doing something else, but I can't.
Okay. Thank you. So you both find yourself uh, struggling between being conscious of what actions to do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And what experience as a language learner has made you modify your own teaching? Uh, I believe that in my case, it started off when we started taking the class of autonomous learning, and the first class where we had to take a third language. So it helped me realize that sometimes I set high expectations or high goals for my students, and but I was only doing it from a teacher's perspective, not as a student perspective. So that certainly has helped me to be more conscious, more aware of my decisions, and to be more empath with my students. What about you, Martha? Oh, your microphone.
Sorry. Okay. Yes, I think that maybe 2 experiences. One was because I think I perceive in that way that I received like a rude feedback,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that I not be rude with my students, but that maybe that I have when it's necessary to give feedback, I have to be more um, maybe more empathetic with the students. And another one was okay, when I feel that teacher focus mainly with students that are more advanced. So I think that sometimes I do that because I don't know why. Eh, eh, but I have tried to change that and focus more with the kids that need more help during the class. Maybe I don't know. It's going to focus with in the kids that know more because you don't stop the class many times, but we need
Okay.
to be conscious on that. And well, my experience was that the teacher focused mainly only with the students that knew more about the language, and the
Okay.
rest were like
And
only.
it would be time. Thank you, Martha. Okay. And what
Okay.
about you, Tui?
So the only experience that I can somewhat relate to this question was with me learning Japanese. I found it very, very difficult and boring. So, like taking that experience into my teaching practice kind of helped me like realize that students do not want to be doing the same thing over and over again. They want like more freedom. They want something where they can really develop themselves and not be like hand in hand with the teacher. And that's pretty much the only real experience I have as a language learner, especially since English and Spanish were pretty much acquired. So yeah, that's it.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Have you ever participated in a teacher discussion? I believe that throughout the BA, we have had plenty of teacher discussions, as most of us are now in service teachers, even if you're just a practitioner. But also at schools, yes, especially for Consejo Técnicos Escolares, mainly when we would sit with teachers to discuss about certain situations on how to have a better classroom management or to deal um, with a specific issue within the classroom. Even getting ideas for activities from my coworkers. Martha?
Yes, I think that as you mentioned, many of my discussion are being during class, during this class, and I think that we share a lot of experiences, but also during the consejos técnicos,
Yes.
also we have like these kind of discussions, and I think that during those discussions with okay, English classes are not integrated, but we focus on the students' behavior. I think.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And Chewy? Oh, your microphone, Chewy. Oh, I'm not sure. I think we might have lost Chewy.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
So the only discussion groups or teacher discussion groups that I've ever participated in were very were more entitled to school. I mean class, especially this class.
Hmm.
You guys mentioned Consejo Técnico. Well, I've never really attended any of those because I'm not really like the main teacher for that the group that I'm teaching. I'm more of just they lend it to me, so I'm not allowed to attend those meetings, I guess. So the only real teacher discussions I've ever had was with you guys at the BA, which were very helpful for me to decide on what type of teacher I should be and how I should become them.
Okay. which was actually the question I was going to ask both of you. Have you found the discussion, well, the teacher discussions, useful for all our BA classes that we have?
Well, of course.
Okay,
Yes,
and
it's pretty useful because we share experience and maybe we can give advices or something.
yep, thank you. All right, and have you ever sympathized with your students after trying to learn something? Yes, it had. I try to sympathize with my students as much as possible. Maybe I go beyond my own boundary, which I'm still working on. But most of the times, yes, I take into consideration my students, if they are learning for home or the reasons they are trying to learn, or if they don't understand, I try to, modify as much as I can the activities to adjust it to their needs. But then again, my groups are reduced, so I have like the privilege to do this because I know you guys have larger groups and it's it's almost impossible to do so when you have big groups. So yeah. And you, Martha? Your microphone.
Thank you. Yes, I after learning Japanese too, I think that I realized of a lot of things that I have to try to that also that I noticed in my class and that I did with some students. For example, I remember the first class when the teacher started speaking only Japanese and I didn't understand anything. So I try to understand the students or the kids that get frustrated when they don't understand. And I try to be more empathetic and yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. Chewy? I can't hear you.
Havana.
Go ahead.
So I think the only time I ever really sympathized with my students was because of my experience learning Japanese as well. Specifically with how some of our teachers, well, my teacher that I had that semester would force us to use Japanese even though we didn't feel ready. And here, uh, so in my classes, I've been trying not to use as much English, even though I feel like it's contradicting. Because I feel like they should be exposed to more English, but at the same time, I know that if I do it, uh, they will most likely find the class very difficult and like they would just feel very unmotivated.
Okay. Thank you. All right. And I think this, okay. So, what have the reflections made for this class helped you realize in your practice? Okay, I think the main thing I discovered from my reflections is the way or the reason I am the teacher I am now, based on mostly bad experiences, but also the good experiences. I've learned from all of that, and especially when we were mapping ourselves as a teacher, that really helped me to realize um, everything behind my philosophy and my ideals of what an English teacher should be, or at least who I should be as an English teacher. Okay. Martha?
Um, yes, I think also that one of the things that I reflected about is why did I start teaching? And also my philosophy. Um, Also my, how can I say, my guides where I take like the example of being a teacher, and also the things that I constantly repeat in class. In the journals, I think that I write a lot about the same thing.
Okay,
Mm.
good. And what about you, Chewy?
So I feel like the reflections we make in this class help me realize that I'm a teacher that I wish not to be. Like um like the teachers that I've had were like pretty bad because most of them they just weren't that memorable, I guess you can say. So I kind of feel like they just like went into the background, and I want to be like that teacher that students remember like in a good way, not like oh that teacher left me all this homework and all this stuff, and he's bad and stuff. But I want to be like that teacher that actually teaches them, not just forces them to look at a book, take notes, take a test, and that's it.
So, besides from being a person they learn English from, you want to you want to be like a person who actually
Actually
like
help them.
leaves, yes, like actually helps them, and considers them human beings.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. And let's go to the question. Okay, and the last question. What do you use more? Uh, it, the textbook or extra material? And explain one reason. Okay, so this has been one thing. Sometimes it goes against what I preach. Um, so in the beginning, schools before I used to use a lot the textbook because in schools that is a requirement. But nowadays, with the groups I am teaching, I have a little bit more freedom. So I use more extra material or other material I can find on online or activities, obviously based on like a syllabus that I've come up with my own students. But then, yes, sometimes we do use a textbook as they did buy a textbook for the class. We do use it, so we can review or learn more vocabulary, or they can apply or practice more what we have seen in class. And Martha?
And yes, I think that I use mostly the textbook because I have to use two math and vocabulary book in 1 hour. So I have to complete them. But the advantage is that this vocabulary book has like extra material like histories and como flashcards, and I use that, but also I try to use like authentic material. I read YouTube videos and that, but it is mostly textbook because it is required.
Okay, thank you. And what about you, Choi?
So since I'm not really the official, I didn't see the textbook or any real like on how I should be giving class. The only thing was technically a textbook, but it was from the teacher that led me to class. Basically told me to follow it, and that's what I've been doing. I've tend to use textbooks way more than other material because one inexperienced, and two I feel like way more comfortable like using the textbook as a guide and focusing on it instead of trying to create these new activities, new ways of teaching.
Yes, I completely agree with you. So, although in the beginning I thought a textbook would not be useful, it does give you a security of and as a guide. Okay, and to come to a conclusion about today's discussion groups, we can all agree that we are between the conscious lower and higher level of competence. So we are constantly trying to change and learn from our experiences, not only as teachers, but also as students, so we can apply it in our teachings. And yes, our experiences have certainly modified our teaching, especially as a foreign language learner. And I think uh, we've all lived it secondhand as Japanese learners. Um, so from this experiences, we know that we can assist more our students, especially those who are struggling a little bit more or need more help. And learning Japanese in a way also made us aware that it's necessary to allow students to have the freedom to give an opinion about what topics to learn or what activities to use in class, so we can give them some sense of autonomy. And being part of teacher discussions have been overall useful, um, from to learn from a secondhand experiences of what our other classmates, either with more or fewer experience as English teachers, but it has helped us because sometimes we're not able to assist to consejos técnicos escolares. So certainly the teacher discussions here in the BA have been very useful. And I believe that we have all learned to sympathize more with our students, especially as we have been language learners ourselves, and we know the difficulties we have to overcome as such. And from this subject overall, we have learned that by mapping who we are as a person and who we are becoming and are as a teacher has helped us realize the reasons we are teaching and who we want to be. And we have learned from both good and bad experiences. And I believe in the end, all of this contributes to ourselves, mostly acknowledging who we are as teachers. And I believe this is all part of our teacher development. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this discussion, I believe that it's a constant cycle and not just a step by step. And I believe that would be all. And thank you for coming to our discussion.
Thank you.